So, CTWC 2020 is a thing, and it's online. Well, you need equipment, well, you came to the right place. Hi, my name's Anthony, and today I'll be explaining in detail the types of gear that you will need, the essentials, if you will, to participate in CTWC's 2020 online tournament this year. Let's get started. Alright, first things first, before we get into any kind of hardware and gear, remember, CTWC 2020 is a live broadcasted tournament that's going to be featuring many people and many eyes are going to be watching you. So this is going to be a professional event. You want to look as best as you can, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it. So before you go into this video, yes, you may need to spend a little bit of money just to up your footage game for the actual final broadcast. Many people are going to watch you, they're going to thank you to have a great setup and all. And let's get this started with your room, your backdrop. This is going to be live. You do not want to have a messy backdrop. If you have a bed behind you, do your bed. If you have clothes on the floor, put them away. Make sure you look presentable. Don't just show up half naked or something. Okay, this is a tournament, it's professional, you want to look professional. Now that's all sorted, let's actually talk about tech. Alright, let's go. Let's start the essentials. The actual console itself and the game. Duh. You're going to be playing Tetris for this championship, and they do not, I repeat, do not allow emulators of sort. So you must be playing on either original console or their sponsorship Hyperkin's Retron 1 or Retron 1 HD. I have here is the Retron 1 HD, and the benefits of having this over an NES, if you don't already own one, is it has HDMI output in the back and AV output simultaneously. Now remember, this is CTWC, there's going to be NTSC, it's going to be hosted in the US. Grab yourself an NTSC game cartridge. They're very cheap and they're everywhere. You can find them sourced on eBay, locally, in your game shop. Get yourself a Tetris cartridge, obviously, if you want to play. And let me explain why I chose to go for a Retron 1 HD than an NES. If you didn't know, I live in a power region here in Australia, sadly, and sourcing yourself for an NTSC NES console costs a lot of money. Like importing that from the US is just not worth it in my opinion. You're going to be spending over hundreds of dollars for a 30-year-old console that may break down on you at any given time, and that's just a waste of money in my opinion, and it only outputs at AV. This outputs at HDMI, and I will explain later with the capture cards, but essentially you can capture your HD footage through the HDMI output to your capture card and your image will look so much cleaner. Trust me. Also, it's small and portable, and it only runs on USB power. That's a plus. Okay, so now you've got a console, the game. What's next? Let's talk about capture cards. Now, for capture cards, this could vary to person. Honestly, get yourself a reliable capture card for your camera and your game footage. Now, if you use an original NES console, it's AV out only, right? Don't bother with spending $200+ on an Elgato HD capture card when it only outputs at AV. Get yourself an easy capture card that you can find really cheap on eBay or Amazon. A lot of Twitch Tetris streamers use it regularly and it works well for them. For me, I personally use an Elgato Capture HD. Now, why I got this is because it outputs at both AV and HDMI, and that works well for when I started streaming. I initially started streaming using the AV port, but then I switched to the HDMI, and I got this used for $30. I don't know how much it costs for you, but try the used market if you can find an Elgato. They are a good company that sells really good capture cards. And for camera capture cards to output your camera to your streams like this one, I recommend this generic HDMI capture card. You may never have heard of it before. It's basically the Camlink, but significantly cheaper. This only costed me roughly $15, and that is a steal. I have two of these. I use one for my camera and one for my hand camera. And this works well. It's USB 2.0. It runs on either 720p at 60 FPS or 1080p at 30. The good thing about this, it's clean HDMI out, plug and play, no drivers needed, and you save a lot of money getting this. You could also use this with your console with the HDMI output. Granted, you will need an adapter from AV to HDMI to this. After getting this capture card, you would need to plug it into your computer, obviously, which requires an HDMI cord, but I'm sure you have some lying around. If not, go to your local electronics shop, buy a bunch of HDMI cables, because you can never go wrong with a bunch of them. Now, for CTWC 2020, they require at least 2 cameras minimum. Yes, 2 cameras. And you might be thinking to yourself, Anthony, I don't own 2 cameras. I only own a Logitech C920 webcam. That's fine. The C920 webcam is, I would say, the bare minimum camera where quality-wise goes. It's a 9-year-old camera. If you don't already own a camera, I highly advise not to spend money on that webcam. You're spending over hundreds of dollars for an old webcam with subpar quality. You could either go with a camera like this, a Canon M50, which doesn't go for that much, or just reach for your pocket. Yes, reach for your pocket. Your smartphone. Your smartphone has a really good camera for what it is, and you could use this for either your face cam or your hand cam. I personally use this camera here for my face cam, going overhead, mounted on a phone clamp, and I use my current camera, which I'm filming right now, the Sony a6400, as my face cam. Why I recommend investing money on a nice camera for any of content creators or Twitch streamers is because you're gonna thank me later. The upgradability is by far better than relying on a single little webcam with a tiny sensor. Working with a camera with a big sensor with interchangeable lenses gives you so much better quality, and the CTWC team is going to thank you later, because having a nice camera footage being broadcasted live to a big audience, you want good quality. They want good quality. So try, if you can, find a nice cheap camera. Camera recommendations I can say is this N50 here from Canon, the Sony mirrorless line, the A5000, A5100, A6000. Another good camera, which might be a life hack to many of you, is use your GoPro as your main camera. Yes, a lot of people own these little GoPros that have a really nice wide angle shot to them. Connect that to the HDMI capture card I previously said before, and you got yourself a very nice face cam. Now, that being said, even with a nice camera, you need lighting. Get yourself good lighting for the time of day you're going to be participating in this tournament. Now, for me, living in Australia, most likely it's going to be in the middle of the night, sadly, which is fine. Alright, I use a cheap $20 light right here that just bounces light on my face. But for many of you, you could just go to your hardware store, buy some cheap lights. It works well. I'm most likely going to upgrade my lighting setup. I want to buy another key light to fill in this side of my face. You can use a lamp as long as the bulb has a neutral white color tone to it. Many conventional bulbs are warm colored, like the ones on your overhead lights, and that could look a bit off. In my opinion, you can color grade it to change the temperature of your camera to a cooler tone to match it, but I highly recommend going for a more neutral white toned light that just bounces light on you. This is what it looks like with light, and this is what it looks like without light, but I have a window next to me that's bouncing light, but you get the idea. Get yourself lighting to look nice, your camera will look nice. Having lighting that bounces into your camera sensor makes your image overall look better. You can have a nice camera, but through low light, it will look very grainy, bumping up that ISO. The higher the ISO, the grainier it is, the lower it is, the better. Okay? Nice. So now all the essential hardware, I would say, has been sorted. Your camera gear, your gaming gear, your capture cards. What next, Anthony? Well, let's talk about accessories that you might find useful for your setup. Things like a microphone. Yes, believe it or not, you need a microphone for CTWC. Think about the post-broadcast interviews and whatnot. They're gonna ask you to join a call, most likely. Try to get yourself a nice microphone so when you talk, you have clarity in your voice. And again, broadcasted live, you do not want to sound too choppy, right? I unfortunately can't recommend any good microphones. I currently just use the microphone I already own, which is this Rode one that I have propped on a mic stand. Research on your own. I'm sure you can find cheap alternative options for microphones. Many Twitch streamers like Sharky and the Game Scout and JDMFX notably use a Blue Yeti. A Blue Yeti works a lot with some, but not all. It's a very bassy microphone and it might sound muddy on your voice, but clear on another's. So research on your own, get yourself a nice microphone. Now, segueing from microphone, stands, I guess. Tripods, microphone stands, scissor arms like that. They might be essential for you. For your camera, how are you gonna prop it? Are you gonna prop it on a tripod? Are you just gonna leave it on your table? That's up to you to get your angle, and same goes for your microphone. So this microphone here, propped it on my stand. I keep it out of my shot so then I can talk whilst not having a microphone up my face, right? And for my phone stand, I use this little scissor arm I got cheaply from Amazon by Nero. It props my camera to be overhead so that I can have my hand cam. Now that's all sorted. Let's talk about your monitor. Yeah, believe it or not, you need a monitor to stream, to look at your broadcast, to look at the live stream so you can hear also the commentary when you're playing. Now for gaming, for your actual NES console / Hyperkin, for playing classic Tetris, you would most likely need to go for a CRT. Now why CRT? Even though it is old technology, the game was designed on that monitor in mind. The technology on it is far better than LCD. The latency is 0 to none compared to LCD. And for me, I currently use a Sony PVM CRT. Now, what is that, Anthony? Well, PVM stands for Professional Video Monitor. It is a CRT built like no other. It's got very nice phosphors in it. It's very clear. It's not, all grainy and fuzzy from all the scan lines. And why I got it is because I live in a power region. Conventional CRTs that commercially sold are most likely 50 Hertz. And that is only locked to PAL. So I needed something that ran 60 frames per second. And I had no other option to go all out, I guess. And I bought a PVM. It costed me $200 of my own money, but it runs so well, it's so nice, it fits on my setup so well. And if you see a CRT in your local area, I most likely guarantee you to go and buy it. You will thank me later. It's just great for any retro gamer to have in their collection. But if you're fortunate enough to live in NTSC standard region, CRTs are so easy to come by. A lot of people even give it away for free, sell it for as low as $10, $5. Get yourself a CRT. Don't rely on an LCD monitor because if you're a DAS player, you're gonna experience a headache with all of those latency issues. Trust me, that's what I had to rely on back in the day before I had my CRT, and now I maxed out. So yeah, now to end on the accessories, let's talk about controllers. Yes, your NES controller. The ones that are legal are the Hyperkin one and the original OEM controller. Now you look at this and you think, Anthony, that doesn't look like an original controller to me. Believe it or not, this is. It's just a new coat of paint. If you didn't know, myself and Sharky created Arbitrum controllers, where we created custom controllers for you. So link in the description if you want yourself a custom controller. And it is, yes, it is tournament legal because it is entirely cosmetic. You do not have any game benefits whatsoever. It is cosmetic. You can argue that it's modified, but no, it's just painted, new buttons, new rubber pads. Get yourself an Arbitrum controller and be a cool kid. I'm just kidding, but link in the description. Now, the only thing you need to worry about is not only hardware. Software is also what you need to worry about. What you're going to be streaming on to broadcast this live for CTWC. Are you going to be either on OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS? That's the two softwares I recommend. But I highly advise to go OBS Studio over Streamlabs is because of one major thing. Plugins. Yes, you can have plugins for your streams to enhance it to look far better than what Streamlabs could ever do. You can add things like LUTs to make your camera look better with different color grading, right? You can add pixel sharpener to your game footage, which I use from a good buddy named XEAL'S. I'll link in the description of his pixel sharpener to create your Tetris footage sharp so that when it's live broadcasted, it's not going to be a fuzzy mess. Judging on the CTM stencil, I most likely advise maybe whoever's watching this in the CTWC team, use a stencil created by Sharky. I was with him discussing and saying that the border for the camera is far too small for the CTMs, and Sharky made it to expand to fit as much of your camera as possible. So when it is restreamed, your camera is not going to be stretched up and pixelated, it's going to look natively well. Here's an example on Sharky's Classic Tetris Gauntlet online tournament where the camera just looks better, far better. So the stencil is most likely going to be your game footage, your camera, and your hand cam. Those are the three things you're most likely going to have in your stream. They're going to restream it and they're going to make it into whatever overlay they're going to do. So software side, Streamlabs or OBS, get OBS Studio, it's just better. Now, if you follow this guide thoroughly, your footage may look a little something like this. So that's that for the video. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and if you learned something new from this video, share this video to anyone you know who's gonna compete this year for CTWC. Hope you found this helpful. This has been your boy Anthony, and I'm signing off, so bye.